Basic attention token has surged by over 140%, while almost all altcoins have been dipping. However, BAT or basic attention token is currently hovering around the weekly resistance. So the big question is, will it break it or reject it? Hello everyone, Richard here and welcome to a new episode here on AltCryptoTalk. Today, I'll be going over basic attention token or BAT in a detailed manner. In fact, it will be the most detailed analysis you will ever watch. So let's get started, and of course, don't forget to smash that like button if you like such content. As usual, starting from the macro perspective from weekly time frame. After being bearish for a long period of time, BAT has been trading within a big accumulation phase within the 0.1 support and the 0.365 resistance. And as usual, we have been looking for longs around the lower bound, and that's exactly where we surged by over 140%. If we zoom in a little bit lower within this big range, we can see markdown, accumulation, and markup phases. For example, previously we have been trading within this big falling channel, and we have been making big low lows and big low highs. As an educational content, just quickly, of course I'll be making more educational content in a detailed manner, but for now, as a practical example, we had our first big impulse followed by a correction, and then you can see that the impulse movements have been going flat. You can clearly see and compare this impulse by this impulse, and you can clearly see it like this. If you put it aside, the first one was very steep, second one was a little bit flat, it's big but flat, and then the third one, the last one, was even more flat. This is how you can feel the shift in momentum in action. We have been in a bearish trend, yes, the bears are in control, yes, but seems that the bears are getting exhausted. But of course, for the bulls to take over, a break above the last major high will be needed. And usually, you don't see a clear break or an immediate break. Usually, price gets stuck within a big consolidation, which we call, as per the Wyckoff theory, a big accumulation phase. So this is exactly what happened after being bearish. We got stuck within this big range. However, you can also see that the bulls are taking over bit after bit. Why? Because within this big range, even though it's a big range, we have been making higher lows. You can clearly draw like a rising channel within this big accumulation phase, which gives you an early alert that yes, we have been in a range, but we'll be expecting a breakout to the upside, or we have more probability that we'll be breaking this range to the upside. And this is exactly what happened. Our confirmation was after this big candle breaking above the accumulation. Thus, this previous resistance or the upper bound of the accumulation became a support zone, and this is exactly where we started looking for long positions. You can see the previous analysis on the website. Anyway, let's keep it simple and let's keep it step by step. Then we got stuck within this big range, and then what? We broke above this range, and now BAT is trading within this, if you want to call it, a floor. Imagine that this is a big building, right? That's our first floor, second floor, and we are currently trading within the third floor. The fourth floor would expose BAT to a bigger impulse movement, which will be breaking above the 0.365, which, if you zoom back to weekly time frame, which would be the upper bound of this big resistance. A big weekly resistance that will be broken if we break above the 0.365, of course with a big weekly momentum candle above the 0.365, then we'll be expecting the price to start the next rally towards the upper resistance around the 0.5. But let's take it step by step, right? We are currently overall bullish. You can clearly see it here visually, or you can add a moving average, you can add a channel, whatever suits you. We are currently in a bullish trend, which is what we call from the Wyckoff theory a markup phase. So we are currently in this markup phase, and we are expecting this retest towards this previous floor, right? And then we'll be looking for long positions, just like what happened here. A break, a retest, looked for longs, and then we broke above this ceiling or resistance, or what we are calling here the structure. If you zoom into daily, to H4 time frame, this daily structure is lining up perfectly with this demand zone. Why this is a demand zone? Because before this big explosive movement, this is the last consolidation or the last bearish candle. This is a very strong demand zone lining up with the structure. Thus, as price retests it, we'll be looking for longs. Zooming in even more to H1 time frame, you can see how we zoomed in all the way from the macro perspective, from weekly, to time our entries on H1. This is exactly what we do. We can make a full, if you want, breakdown or educational content about this. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, we have been trading within this big correction phase, and as we retest the lower bound, we'll be around an oversold zone. So this falling broadening wedge, or let's say it's a channel, right, to keep it simple, is engulfing the latest price action, which is a bearish correction, right? Some people like to call it a flag, a pennant, a consolidation, a correction, but let's keep it simple, right? Let's not pick a specific name. As we push a little bit lower, of course, we'll be looking for longs targeting the upper bound of this wedge pattern. And for the price to dive in within this resistance zone on weekly time frame, we will need to see a new high forming around the upper bound of the wedge and then breaking it to the upside. So if you want, long story short, from weekly time frame, for the bulls to be able to kick in again from a long-term perspective and reach 0.5, a break above the 0.365 is needed. On daily time frame, as we test this structure, we'll be looking for longs. On H4 time frame, the structure is lining up with this demand zone. On H1 time frame, as we push a little bit lower, we'll be looking for longs short term and then longs medium term after breaking above this high within the resistance on weekly time frame. That's it for today. Hope you like it. I'm trying my best to make it as educational as possible for you to apply it on different charts. So feel free to apply it and let me know in the comments which altcoin you would like me to go over next. And I'll see you hopefully on the next one.